Threats have been a comp that have been easy to transition into and that can secure you easy top 4s. In this video, I'll teach you how to master this comp by going over the build, what items and augments to take, how to play the early, mid, and late game, and then I'll go over some in-depth positioning examples. This comp is the most flexible in the game because our only core units are Aesol and Bel'Veth. Depending on what type of items you get, both of them can be our main carries. Because threats don't get any synergy bonuses from the trait, they can therefore be played with anything to support them. But the most common board is to play all 8 threat units. If you are unable to find Urgot or Fiddlesticks, then you can play any strong 2-star unit that doesn't rely on their synergies, such as Echo or Sejuani, or to try to field in a 2 breakpoint synergy like Aegis, Brawler, Mascot, Defender, or Heart. You can also just play Aesol and Bel'Veth with any strong frontline and supporting synergies. The best hero augments for this comp are any threat hero augments. Due to the nature of the threat synergy, any other hero augment works too, because you can easily slot them in without removing a key trait. Examples of some good support hero augments are Blitzcrank, Nasus, Renekton, Talon, Wukong, Annie, Camille, Draven, Sivir, Yuumi, LeBlanc, Zoe, Echo, Sejuani, Soraka, Talia, Janna, Nunu, Mordekaiser, Syndra. If you want to learn more about hero augments, then check out my hero augment guide, where I go in-depth on that subject. As you can see, this comp is very flexible, but I'll talk more about how you can change up your playstyle, board, and what you add in at level 9 later in the video. We have 2 main carries in Aesol and Bel'Veth. It's a good strategy to build one item for each of them, and after that, focus on giving 2 more items to one of them. Aesol uses AP and mana generating items, and his core item is Sojin, because this item helps him cast more often to keep applying burn and dealing damage. Bel'Veth uses AD and healing items the best, and her core item is Last Whisper. This is because she is a single target damage dealer without backline axes. Therefore, she needs a way to get through the tanks, and this item helps her with that. Here's a list of their best items. This comp is more top 4 oriented, therefore you will not focus on getting perfect items, like you would do in other comps. You build the core item for both, then focus on getting 2 other good items for both. After making items for Aesol and Bel'Veth, we want to make items for our main tank, which will be Rammus or Zac. Which one you pick depends on the strategy you want to follow, which I'll talk more about later in the video. Rammus likes armor items the best, like Bramble, Sunfire, and Stoneplate, but you can give him any tank items or Ionic Spark. Here are some examples of full builds for him. Zac likes health items like Warmogs, Redemption, or Sunfire. But just like Rammus, he can also use any tank items or Spark. Here's a tier list of his best items. This comp also uses Thieves' Gloves extremely well, because we have units like Cho'Gath, Zac, or Fiddlesticks who can benefit from almost any items they get given. If you get a Spatula, you have a couple of different options. You can make Duelist Spat, which you can put on Bel'Veth, and play 2 or 4 Duelists. Or you can make an Oxforce Spat, and give it to a frontliner. In this case, you want to add another Oxforce unit. The best non-hero augments with this comp are Ascension, Celestial Blessing, Electrocharge, Exiles, High Roller, Jewel Lotus, Luden's Echo, Makeshift Armor, Portable Forge, Scoped Weapons, Second Wind, and Threat Level Maximum. I mentioned a lot of augments there, and the best ones out of those are Electrocharge, High Roller, Jewel Lotus, Luden's Echo, Second Wind, and Threat Level Maximum. If all that info was a lot to take in, then check out the cheat sheet for this comp. It's available for patrons and YouTube members. Here is the quirky cheat sheet from last set, so you know what to expect for the threat cheat sheet that is available right now. The carousel priority for this comp is Tier, Rod, Bow, then Belt. Because this comp is so flexible, you can play any opening with it, but some of the better openers are strong AP boards like Lux Star Guardian, Lulu Gadgetines, or Yuumi Mascots, and strong AD openers are Ashe Lacers, Sure Shots, or Renegade Camille. Strong items to make in the early game are Sojin, Last Whisper, Sunfire, Ionic Spark, Jewel Gauntlet, Archangels, i.e. Bramble Vest, Warmogs, or Thieves' Gloves. On stage 4-1, you have the option to pre-level to 4. This means that we buy 4 XP, but we do not level up immediately. Instead, you level up on stage 2-1 because of the passive 2 XP you get. We can use this to try to get threats early on in the game, but this is not a mandatory strategy, so evaluate whether you want to lose streak or win streak before pre-leveling. If you decide you want to lose streak, then you never want to pre-level. From there, your early game strategy depends a lot on how good your opener is. In some games you play for a loss streak, and in some games you play for a win streak. And if you want to learn more about how to play the early game, then check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. After the Craig's round, you should have more direction towards a comp, and the general requirements to play threats is to have at least one component for Sojin and another component for Last Whisper. and a third component for a tank or utility item like Spark or Bramble. During the mid game, you want to play any threat unit you get, because they are very strong at this stage in the game, especially Aesol and Bel'Veth. If you are weak in the mid game, you have two options. You can either roll level 6 or at level 7 to stabilize and stop the bleeding of HP. If you roll level 6, it should be on stage 3 too, and you want to play a board like this. But any board can work that has upgraded units and fits your items. Here Vel'Koz will hold AP items, Senna can hold AD items, and you give Rammus your tank items. If you have to roll level 7 instead, you can do this on either stage 3-5 or 4-1, which one you pick depends on how much HP and gold you have. When rolling at level 7, you can aim for a board similar to this, where you stabilize off Aesol and Bel'Veth 1-star and Rammus 2-star. During the mid game, it's also important to scout. This is so we can see how many other people are playing threats. This comp can support 2 players, so if you see more than that going for it, consider pivoting into a comp that you made items for, which should be Spellslinger Talia, MF Carry, or Brawler Soraka if you made AP items, and Sure Shot Samira, Hacker Zed, or Aphelios Carry if you made AD items. On stage 4-1, you want to be level 7, and from here you have 2 different options. You can either start slow rolling on level 7 for 3-cost threats, or go level 8 and roll there for Aesol and Bel'Veth, as well as Urgot and Fiddlesticks. Slow rolling is when you roll any excess gold above 50 and try to 3-star our units. In this case, we want to 3-star Rammus, Vel'Koz, and Cho'Gath, and the priority is in that order. Rammus and Cho'Gath become even tankier, while Vel'Koz will deal a ton of damage to the enemy carry at 3-star. At level 7, you also have a good chance to 2-star Aesol and Bel'Veth. This strategy is very strong, especially if you have the high roller augment or loaded dice drop throughout the game, because these units don't have any other trait than the threat trait. You can use loaded dice on them, and you are guaranteed to get only threats in your shop. The best use case for this is at level 4, where you can only get 3-cost threats because of the shop odds. If you choose this strategy, you want to end up with a board like this, and here you play Rammus as your main tank. The 6th and 7th unit is very flexible, so add any strong standalone unit like Zac, Sejuani, Echo, Janna, Urgot, Fiddle, Syndra, Leona, Nunu, or Mordekaiser. If you couldn't find 2-star Aesol, then you can give AP items to Vel'Koz if he is 3-starred. The other option is to go level 8 and roll for a board like this, where we play all 8 threat units. If you follow this strategy, then you want to play Zac as your main tank. If you couldn't find Urgot or Fiddlesticks, you can substitute them for a strong standalone unit, such as Sejuani, Mordekaiser, Janna, Syndra, Echo, or Nunu, or a strong unit that pairs, such as any 2 Aegis units, Sejuani plus another Brawler, Set and Riven, Nunu plus another Mascot, or if the admin trait is good, then Soraka plus Blitzcrank or LeBlanc. If the lobby is AP heavy, you can play 4 Aegis like this with Cho'Gath instead of Vel'Koz, or like this with Sejuani. If the lobby is more AD focused, then you can play Defenders instead like this, or with Mech like this. Other boards that work are for example these. As you can see, there are a ton of different variations that you can play, so experiment and see what you like best, and what counters the lobby best. If you do find Urgot and Fiddle at level 8, you always want to play them, because both of these are extremely strong units and don't require any items to be useful. If you get Duelist Bat, you should give it to Bel'Veth because she scales well with attack speed. You should also play a 2 Duelist board, which looks like this, where you add in Yasuo because of his CC, or play a 4 Duelist board that can look something like this, with Vayne and Nyla as our 2 additional duelists. If you build Ox for Spat, then you should give it to a frontliner like Rammus, Zac, or Fiddlesticks, and then add in either Alistar or Aphelios. If you added an Alistar, you can also remove Cho and Rammus to add in more Aegis units. Once you hit your board at level 8, you have 2 options from there. The first one is to roll for Aesol or Bel'Veth 3-star. This strategy is very risky, so I would only do this if you are uncontested, you have a lot of gold, after you hit your entire board 2-star on your first level 8 rolldown, in addition to having at least 5 copies of the carry you want to 3-star. From there, make sure to slow roll above 50 gold as long as you can. Then roll down to 0 once you get low in HP. Generally though, this strategy is not recommended because we can make our board a lot stronger if we go to level 9 with this comp. At level 9, you have a ton of options for what to add in. You can add in a strong standalone unit like Sejuani, Echo, Syndra, Janna, Mordekaiser, Leona, or Nunu. If you couldn't make Static Shiv or Ionic Spark, you always want to add in Mordekaiser to lower the MR of the enemy team. If there is a super tank like Mech or high health brawlers, then you add in Leona to deal with them. If the weather is windy or sunny, you can add in Janna. However, rainy weather is not great for this comp. To cap out your board, the strongest unit to add in is Syndra, because she can pull in all previously mentioned impactful units from your bench. General positioning with this comp looks like this. We have Aesol and Vel'Koz in the corners, because Urgot always casts a spell right in front of him, and we want him to hit as many enemies as possible. We often position him in the middle of the board. We want Fiddlesticks to be focused down first and fear the entire enemy team, so we frontline him. Bel'Veth has a 2 hex range, so we can place her in the second row. Now let's take a look at some in-depth examples. Against the first guy, the big threats are Samira and Aphelios. Aesol is safe in the far left corner. We position Urgot to hit Samira, Aphelios, Janna, and the whole frontline with a spell. Cho'Gath is positioned to mana reave the frontline. Bel'Veth is positioned to hit Galio and start stacking up her spell. Against the second guy, the big threat is Taliyah. Fiddlesticks is the first one to get focused, so he can cast his ability as soon as possible. Urgot is positioned to hit the most amount of enemies. Bel'Veth and Vel'Koz are positioned to draw the Taliyah ult away from the Urgot and Aesol. Cho'Gath mana reaves, and Rammus knocks up the whole entire frontline. Against the third guy, the big threats are Jax and Shiraka. Bel'Veth and Aesol are positioned as far away from the Sejuani ult as possible. Fiddle gets focused by Jax first, and fears the whole frontline. We place Cho close to Sejuani to try and mana reave her. Urgot knocks Shiraka closer and hits almost the whole frontline. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they're available for YouTube members and patrons, and links to those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.